The Vethary sat in silence as Danny cleaned and bandaged Cravath's wound. The captain's yellow eyes watched him with a mix of suspicion and confusion. This made no sense to him. The humans should be running. The human should be afraid. Instead, the human was giving orders like he owned the jungle. "Why are you helping us?" Cravath asked. "We left you here to die." Danny tied off the bandage. "I need your ship. You need my help. We can argue about the past later if we survive." The other two Vethary were named Seshkor and Trelvan. They were younger, less experienced. The terror of the night attack was still fresh in their eyes. They had never been prey before. They did not know how to handle it. "The ship is 2 kilometers east," Cravath said. "We can make a run for it." "No," Danny said. "The Shethrak is somewhere between us and the ship. It is waiting. It knows we will try to reach the ship. That is where it will hunt." "How do you know this?" "Because that is what I would do." Danny pointed to the ground. "I have been studying its tracks. It is smart. It does not chase. It waits. It picks the best ground and lets prey come to it." Seshkor made a sound of frustration. "Then what do we do?" "We cannot stay here forever." "We hunt it," Danny said. The three Vethari stared at him like he had gone insane. "Hunt it?" Trelvan repeated. "It killed 3 of our crew in seconds. It is faster than us, stronger than us, and it knows this jungle better than we ever will. Hunting it is suicide." Danny shook his head. "Running is suicide. The creature expects prey to run. It does not expect prey to fight back. We use that." Cravath leaned forward. "You speak as if you have done this before. Fought creatures like the Shethrak." "Not like the Shethrak," Danny admitted. "But I have hunted before. On my world, my ancestors hunted animals much larger and stronger than themselves. They did not have claws or fangs either. They had patience, tools, and teamwork. That was enough." "Your world sounds like a nightmare," Seshkor muttered. Danny almost smiled. It was. "That is why humans are what we are." He spent the next hour explaining his plan. The Vethary listened, sometimes asking questions, sometimes arguing. But in the end, they agreed. They had no better options. The first step was understanding the enemy. Danny led them through the jungle, following the Shethrak's trail. He moved slowly, stopping often to examine broken branches, disturbed soil, and claw marks on trees. The Vethari watched him work with growing surprise. "You read the jungle like a book," Trelvan said quietly. "Every environment tells a story," Danny replied. "You just need to know how to listen." He taught them to mask their scent using mud and certain plants. The Vethari found this disgusting, but they did it. He taught them to walk on the balls of their feet, to avoid stepping on dry leaves and twigs. They were clumsy at first, but they learned. "On my world," Danny explained, "humans would hunt animals for days, sometimes weeks. We would follow them until they could not run anymore. We were not faster, but we never stopped. Eventually, the prey would collapse from exhaustion. We call this persistence hunting." Cravath frowned. "You chased your prey to death? That seems cruel." Danny looked at him. "Your species left me on this planet to be eaten alive. Do not speak to me about cruelty." The captain had no answer for that. By the end of the second day, Danny had a clear picture of the Shethrak's patterns. It slept during the hottest hours of the day, hidden in a cave system near the rocky hills. It hunted at dawn and dusk, using the low light to its advantage. It always approached from above when possible, dropping onto prey from trees or cliffs. "It relies on surprise," Danny said. "Take away the surprise, and we have a chance." "A small chance," Seshkor said. "A chance is more than we had yesterday." That night, they made camp on the rocky ground where Danny had planned. The Shethrak would not have good ambush points here. They could see it coming from any direction. Danny sat by the small fire, drawing in the dirt with a stick. The Vethary watched him sketch out the terrain, marking the creature's known paths and hunting grounds. "You have changed," Crevasse said suddenly. Danny looked up. "What do you mean? When you came aboard my ship, you were quiet. Small. You seemed like nothing." The captain's eyes reflected the firelight. "Now you seem like something else entirely." "I am the same person," Danny said. "You just see me differently now." Crevasse was silent for a long moment. "My people have a saying. The fool sees only the surface. The wise one sees the teeth beneath. I was a fool." "Yes," Danny agreed. "You were." There was no anger in his voice. Just a simple statement of fact. In the distance, the HFY roared. The sound echoed through the jungle, a reminder that death was never far away. The Vethari tensed, their hands moving to their weapons. Danny did not flinch. He continued drawing his plans in the dirt. "Tomorrow," he said, "we stop running. Tomorrow, we become the hunters." Seshkor and Trelvin exchanged nervous glances. Crevasse stared into the fire, thinking about everything he had believed about humans. All the stories he had heard, all the jokes he had told. Prey species, soft creatures, easy kills, lies, all of it. The human sitting across from him was not prey. He never had been. The galaxy had simply failed to notice the predator hiding behind those calm eyes. Tomorrow, the HFY would learn the same lesson, and by then, it would be too late. Danny Cole had been stranded at Outpost 7 for 3 weeks. The small space station floated at the edge of known territory, and very few ships passed through. His own vessel had been destroyed by pirates who took everything of value and left him drifting in an escape pod. He survived on luck and emergency rations until a patrol found him and dropped him here. Now his credits were almost gone. His options were running out. The trading post was nearly empty when the Vethari ship arrived. Danny watched from the corner of the bar as 6 tall reptilian creatures walked through the doors. They stood over 7 feet tall, with scaled green skin and 4 muscular arms. Their eyes were yellow with black slits, and rows of sharp teeth filled their mouths. They moved like predators, confident and dangerous. Everyone in the bar looked away. The Vethari were known throughout the galaxy as hunters and killers. They feared nothing and respected no one. Danny finished his drink and approached them. The largest one, clearly the captain, looked down at him with open disgust. His nostrils flared as he studied the human. "What do you want, soft one?" the captain asked. His voice was deep and rough. "Passage," Danny said. "I need transport to the central systems. I can pay." The Vethar laughed. It was an ugly sound, like rocks grinding together. "You want to travel with us?" Another crew member said. "Humans are prey. We do not carry prey on our ship." Danny kept his face calm. He had dealt with dangerous people before. Growing up in rural Montana, he had learned early that showing fear only made things worse. Predators could smell it. "I have credits," he said simply, "and I will stay out of your way." The captain leaned closer. His breath smelled like rotting meat. "How many credits?" Danny named every coin he had left. It was enough. The captain considered for a long moment. The other Vethari whispered among themselves, clearly unhappy about the idea. But credits were credits, and the amount Danny offered was generous. "Very well," the captain said. "I am Crevasse. You will sleep in the cargo hold. You will not speak unless spoken to. You will not enter any restricted areas. If you cause trouble, I will eat you myself." Danny nodded. Understood. The ship was called the Wandering Star. It was old, but well-maintained, built for speed and combat. Danny carried his small backpack through the corridors as a crew member led him to the cargo hold. The Vethari walked behind him, watching his every move. "You are very small," the crew member said. "No claws. No fangs, thin skin. How do humans survive anywhere?" Danny did not answer. He had heard this before. Most alien species looked at humans and saw weakness. They saw a creature without natural weapons, without armor, without venom. They did not understand what humans really were. The cargo hold was cold and dark. Metal crates filled most of the space, leaving only a small corner for Danny to set up his sleeping bag. He did not complain. He had slept in worse places. Over the next 2 days, Danny watched and listened. The Vithari ignored him for the most part, only speaking to him when they wanted to mock his appearance or question how his species had ever reached the stars. Danny answered their questions politely and kept his observations to himself. He noticed many things. He noticed that the ship was not heading toward the central systems. The star patterns outside the windows were wrong. He noticed that the crew spoke in hushed voices when they thought he was not listening. He noticed the hunting weapons stored in a locked room near the bridge. On the third night, Danny crept through the corridors while most of the crew slept. He had always been quiet. His grandfather had taught him to move through forests without making a sound, to become invisible in the wilderness. Those skills worked just as well on the spaceship. He stopped outside the bridge, where Captain Cravath was speaking with his second in command. "The human will be perfect," Cravath said. "The Shethrak always comes for easy prey. He will draw it out, and we will take the kill." "Are you certain?" the other Vithari asked. "The quarantine exists for a reason. Many hunters have died on that world. That is what makes it valuable," Cravath replied. "A Shethrak trophy is worth more than this entire ship, and the human cost us nothing. If he dies, we lose nothing." Danny felt his stomach tighten. He understood now. They were not taking him to the central systems. They were taking him to a hunting ground. And he was not a passenger. He was bait. He moved back to the cargo hold in silence. His mind was racing, but his hands were steady. He had been in dangerous situations before. He had survived blizzards in the mountains, faced down wild animals, and once spent 2 weeks lost in the Alaskan wilderness with nothing but a knife. This was just another survival situation. The rules were the same. Danny opened his backpack and checked his supplies. He had a hunting knife with a 6-inch blade, a fire starter, some rope, a small first aid kit. Basic things that the Vethari had not bothered to take because they seemed worthless. They did not understand. In the right hands, simple tools could become deadly weapons. He lay down on his sleeping bag and closed his eyes. He needed rest. Whatever was coming, he would need all his strength. The Vithari thought they knew what humans were. They saw a soft creature without claws or fangs. They saw prey. They were wrong. Humans had not conquered Earth because they were the strongest. They had not spread across the stars because they were the fastest. They had succeeded because they were persistent, adaptable, and patient. They could survive anywhere. They could hunt anything. Danny Cole was about to remind the galaxy what humans really were. The ship flew on through the darkness of space, carrying 6 hunters and 1 piece of bait toward a world where death waited in the shadows. But the hunters had made a mistake. They had brought the wrong prey. The planet below was green and wild. Thick jungle covered every visible surface, broken only by rivers that cut through the land like silver veins. From orbit, it looked beautiful. Danny knew better. Beautiful things in nature were often the most deadly. The wandering star descended through the clouds. The crew had stopped pretending. They no longer treated Danny as a passenger. Now they treated him like cargo. Captain Cravath stood over him with a plasma rifle pointed at his chest. "Get up, human. We have arrived." Danny stood slowly. He kept his hands visible and his face calm. "Where are we?" "Kethver," Cravath said. "A quarantined world. Very dangerous. Very valuable for hunting." He smiled, showing all of his teeth. You should feel honored. You will play an important role in our hunt. As bait, Danny said. Cravath tilted his head. You are smarter than you look. Yes, the HFY is the greatest predator on this world. It is drawn to easy prey. You will draw it out. We will kill it. Everyone wins, except me. The captain shrugged with all four shoulders. Your kind dies easily. It is your nature. The ship landed in a small clearing. The air that rushed in when the doors opened was hot and thick with moisture. Strange sounds filled the jungle, calls and cries from creatures Danny could not see. The trees were massive, with trunks as wide as houses and leaves that blocked out most of the sunlight. The Vethari pushed Danny down the ramp at gunpoint. He stumbled, but kept his feet. His backpack was still on his shoulders. They had not taken it. Why would they? To them, it contained nothing of value. Run, little human, one of the crew members called out. The HFY likes it when prey runs. Danny turned to face them. You could just take me to the central systems. You have my credits. This is not necessary. Cravath laughed. Your credits paid for fuel. Your body will pay for our prize. Now go, before I decide to kill you myself. The ramp closed. The ship's engines roared as it lifted off and moved to a different location somewhere in the jungle. They would be setting up their hunting positions, waiting for Danny to attract the creature. Danny stood alone in the clearing. The sounds of the jungle pressed in around him. Somewhere in the shadows, the most dangerous predator on this world was waiting. He took a deep breath and got to work. First, he needed water. The humidity told him there was plenty of moisture, but he needed to find a clean source. He looked at the plants around him, checking for signs of animal trails. Where there were trails, there would be water. He found a small stream within 20 minutes. The water was clear and cold. He filled his bottle after testing a small amount on his skin. No reaction. That was a good sign, though not a guarantee. Next shelter. The jungle floor was dangerous. Large predators would hunt there. He needed to be above ground when darkness came. Danny found a tree with thick branches and began to climb. His arms and legs burned with effort, but he pushed through the pain. Near the top, he found a natural platform where several branches grew together. He used his rope to secure himself and his pack. From above, he could see the layout of the land. The jungle stretched in every direction, but he spotted a rocky hill in the distance. That would be useful. Predators did not like open ground. A rocky area would give him advantages. He climbed back down as the sun began to set. He had maybe 2 hours of light left. That was enough time to set some traps. Using his knife, Danny cut branches and sharpened them into stakes. He buried them in shallow pits along the animal trails, covering them with leaves. They would not stop a massive creature, but they might slow down smaller predators. He gathered dry wood and stored it in his tree shelter. Fire would be important. Most animals feared fire. He hoped the HFY was no different. As darkness fell, Danny sat in his tree and ate a small portion of his emergency rations. He had enough food for maybe 3 days. After that, he would need to hunt or forage. He heard the HFY before he saw it. The sound started as a low rumble, like distant thunder. Then came the crash of trees being pushed aside by something massive. Danny pressed himself against the trunk of his tree and held his breath. The creature emerged into the clearing below. It was enormous, bigger than any land animal Danny had ever seen. 6 powerful legs supported a body covered in dark scales. Its head was long and filled with teeth the size of kitchen knives. 2 small eyes glowed yellow in the darkness. It sniffed the air. Then it turned and moved in a different direction. Danny heard the screams moments later. Vethari screams. High-pitched and full of terror. The hunters had become the hunted. The sounds of fighting lasted only seconds. Then silence. Then the rumble of the HFY moving away, satisfied with its kill. Danny waited until dawn before climbing down. He moved carefully through the jungle, following the trail of destruction the creature had left behind. He found what remained of two HFY hunters. Their weapons lay scattered and broken. Their advanced technology had not saved them. Danny studied the scene. The creature had ambushed them from above. It was smart. It used the terrain. It struck fast and did not give them time to react. He noted everything. The size of the tracks. The pattern of movement. The way it chose its attack point. Every predator had patterns. Learn the patterns and you could predict behavior. Predict behavior and you could set traps. Danny heard movement in the trees behind him. He spun, knife ready. Captain HFY stumbled out of the shadows. His arm was bleeding heavily. Two other HFY followed him, both injured. Their confident expressions were gone. Now they looked like what they truly were, scared animals. "Human," HFY said. "You are still alive?" Danny looked at the alien who had tried to kill him. He could leave them here. He could take their weapons and find the ship on his own. They deserved no mercy, but Danny needed that ship. And 3 more bodies might be useful, even damaged ones. "I am still alive," he said. "And if you want to stay alive, you will do exactly what I tell you." HFY stared at him. The other HFY looked at each other in confusion. The prey was giving orders now, and they had no choice but to listen. The canyon was narrow and deep. Walls of dark stone rose on either side, creating a natural corridor that led toward the HFY ship. Danny had spotted it during his scouting. It was perfect. "The creature uses this path," he explained to the others. "I found its tracks here 3 times. It likes this canyon because prey cannot escape to the sides. They can only run forward or backward." HFY studied the walls. "And you want us to fight it here? In a place where we also cannot escape?" "Yes," Danny said. "Because we will not need to escape. We will end the fight here." He walked them through the plan. It took most of the morning to prepare. The HFY followed his instructions, even when they did not understand the purpose. They had learned to trust him over the past 2 days. Or at least, they had learned that ignoring him meant death. Danny climbed the canyon walls and secured ropes at key points. He directed Seshkor and Trovin to dig shallow trenches across the canyon floor and fill them with sharpened stakes. The stakes would not kill the HFY, but they would slow it down and cause pain. A creature in pain made mistakes. At the narrowest point of the canyon, Danny prepared his killing ground. He built a simple structure of logs and vines, hidden among the rocks above. From there, he would have a clear view of everything below. He would have one chance. "What about us?" HFY asked. "What is our role?" Danny pointed to a position 50 meters back from the stake pits. "You will be the bait." The captain's eyes widened. "Bait? The creature knows your scent. It has hunted you before. When it sees you standing in the open, it will come." Danny handed him one of the remaining plasma rifles. "Your job is to wound it. Make it angry. Make it chase you into the canyon. And then, run as fast as you can. Lead it over the stake pits. Keep running until you reach the end of the canyon. Then climb the escape ropes. The creature cannot climb the walls. It will be trapped. And you will be waiting above," HFY said slowly. "Yes," Trovin shook his head. "This is insane. There are too many things that could go wrong. What if it does not follow us? What if it climbs the walls? What if your weapon fails?" Danny looked at him calmly. "Do you have a better plan?" Silence. "Then we do this my way." They waited until dusk. The HFY hunted at this hour. Danny had timed everything around its patterns. He knew where it would be, how it would approach, and how it would react to the sight of its escaped prey standing in the open. Cravath stood at the entrance to the canyon. His injured arm was mostly healed, but he moved stiffly. Behind him, Seshkor and Trelvin waited with the remaining weapons. They were scared. Danny could see it in the way they held their rifles too tightly. He climbed to his position, above the kill zone, and settled into wait. His makeshift spear lay beside him. It was just a wooden shaft with a sharpened stone tied to the end. Primitive, ridiculous. And in a few minutes, it would bring down the most dangerous predator on this world. The rumble came first. Then the crash of trees. Then silence. Danny saw the Shethrak emerge from the jungle. It moved with terrible grace, 6 legs carrying its massive body through the undergrowth without sound. Its yellow eyes fixed on Cravath. The captain raised his rifle and fired. The plasma bolt struck the creature's shoulder. It roared, a sound so loud that Danny felt it in his chest. Then it charged. Cravath ran. He ran faster than Danny had ever seen anything run. The Shethrak followed, its jaws snapping at the air just meters behind him. Seshkor and Trelvin fired their weapons as the creature passed. More hits, more roars. The Shethrak was bleeding now, but it did not slow down. If anything, the pain made it faster. More determined, Cravath reached the stake pits and leaped. His long legs carried him over the first trench. The Shethrak was not so lucky. Its front legs crashed through the thin covering and drove into the sharpened stakes below. It screamed and stumbled, but it did not stop. It pulled itself free and kept coming. Blood poured from its legs, leaving dark trails on the stone floor. Cravath was running out of canyon. The escape ropes were just ahead. The Shethrak lunged. Cravath jumped for the ropes. The creature's jaws closed on empty air, missing him by centimeters. It slammed into the canyon wall. Trapped in the narrow passage with nowhere to go. Danny dropped from above. He fell silently, his body aligned with the creature's back. He had studied its anatomy for 2 days. He knew where the scales were thickest and where they were thin. He knew where the major blood vessels ran. He knew the one spot where a single strike would end everything, the neck joint. The small gap between the head and the body where the spine was exposed. His spear drove into that gap with all the force of his falling weight. The Shethrak screamed. It thrashed. It tried to shake him off. Danny held on, driving the spear deeper, twisting it. Hot blood sprayed across his face and arms. The creature's legs buckled. For a long moment, everything was still. Then the Shethrak collapsed. Its body hit the ground with a sound like thunder. Its yellow eyes dimmed and went dark. Danny rolled off its back and lay on the stone floor, breathing hard. Every muscle in his body ached. His hands were shaking, but he was alive. Cravath climbed down from the rope and approached slowly. He stared at the dead creature, then at Danny, then at the simple wooden spear still buried in the monster's neck. How? He whispered. How did you do that? Danny sat up. He wiped the blood from his face and looked at the captain. Patience, he said. Observation, timing, and a willingness to get very, very close to something that wants to kill you. Seshkor and Trelvin arrived. They stood over the Shethrak's body in silence, unable to believe what they were seeing. Trelvin spoke first. The humans, they are not prey. No, Cravath agreed quietly. They never were. Danny stood and retrieved his spear. He cleaned the blood off with leaves and secured it to his pack. The creature was dead, but they still had to reach the ship. There would be time to celebrate later. We should move, he said. It will be dark soon. The Vethori followed him without question. The prey had become the hunter, and the hunter had won. The wandering star lifted off from Kethver as the sun set behind the endless jungle. Danny stood at the observation window and watched the planet shrink below them. He felt nothing but relief. The nightmare was over. Behind him, the Vethari crew worked in silence. There were only 3 of them now. Half their number had died on that world, killed by the very creature they had come to hunt. The trophy was stored in the cargo hold, preserved in a stasis field. It would be worth a fortune. Cravath approached him. The captain moved differently now. The arrogance was gone from his steps. Something else had taken its place. "Human," he said. "Danny, I have something for you." He held out a bag of credits. Danny recognized it. His own payment, the last of his money that he had given for passage. "Take it back," Cravath said. "You earned it. You earned more than this." Danny took the bag. He weighed it in his hand for a moment. "And the Shethrak?" "The trophy belongs to whoever made the kill." "That is Vethari law." Cravath paused. "But such a creature is worth more credits than you can imagine. I propose a split. Half for you, half for my crew." It was more than fair. Danny nodded. "There is one more thing I want," he said. "Name it. When we reach port, you will tell everyone what happened. The truth. No changes, no lies. You will tell them that a human killed the Shethrak with a wooden spear while you ran for your lives." Cravath flinched. Danny knew this would hurt the captain's pride. Among the Vethari, reputation was everything. Admitting that a human had saved them would bring shame, but the captain nodded slowly. "I will tell them. You have my word." The journey back to civilized space took 4 days. During that time, something strange happened. The Vethari began treating Danny differently. They no longer mocked him or avoided him. Instead, they asked him questions. About Earth, about human history, about how such a seemingly weak species had spread across the galaxy. Danny answered honestly. He told them about the Ice Ages, when humans had survived conditions that killed most other species. He told them about the Great Migrations, when small groups had walked across continents with nothing but stone tools and determination. He told them about the wars, the diseases, the disasters, and how humanity had survived them all. "Your species should have died 1,000 times, Seshkor said one evening. "By all logic, you should be extinct." "We are hard to kill," Danny agreed. "We do not know how to quit." Trelvin shook his head. "It is more than that. You adapt. You learn. You turn every weakness into a strength. It is terrifying." Danny smiled slightly. "Thank you." The trading hub was called Nexus Station. It was one of the largest ports in the sector, home to dozens of different species. When the wandering star docked and word spread about what they were carrying, crowds gathered to see the legendary Shethrak, but it was not the creature that drew the most attention. It was the story. Cravath kept his promise. He stood in the main plaza and told everyone what had happened. He did not spare himself. He described how he had left Danny on the planet to die. He described how Danny had survived, had tracked the creature, had organized the hunt, and had made the killing blow with nothing but a primitive spear. The crowd listened in stunned silence. When Cravath finished, the questions began. Representatives from hunting guilds wanted to know more about Danny's techniques. Military officers asked about his combat training. Scientists wanted to study him like he was some kind of specimen. Danny refused them all. "I am not interested in fame," he said. "I am a salvage worker. I want to get back to my job." But word had already spread. Within hours, every corner of the station knew about the human who had killed a Shethrak alone. Within days, the story would reach other systems. Within weeks, it would become legend. Danny used his share of the trophy money to buy a small ship. It was old and battered, much like himself. But it was fast and reliable, and it was his. He named it the Long Hunt. He was loading supplies when a young Vithari approached him. The alien was smaller than Kryveth, probably barely an adult by their standards. He stood nervously at the foot of the ramp, his four hands clasped together. "Are you Danny Cole?" he asked. "The human hunter?" Danny sighed. "I am Danny Cole. I am not sure about the rest. My name is Catherine. I heard what you did on Kethver. I heard how you survived, how you hunted." The young alien straightened his spine. "I want to learn. I want you to teach me." Danny looked at him for a long moment. He saw something familiar in those yellow eyes. Hunger, determination, the desire to be more than what others expected. "Do you know how to follow orders?" Danny asked. "Yes. Do you know how to stay quiet and watch?" "I can learn." "Can you accept that a human might know more than you about survival?" The young Vithari hesitated. Then he nodded. "I have heard the stories. I know what you are capable of. I would be a fool to think otherwise." Danny considered. He had never wanted a crew. He had never wanted responsibility for another life. But there was something about this young alien that reminded him of himself. Years ago, eager, underestimated, ready to prove everyone wrong. "Fine," he said. "Get on board. But the first time you call me soft or weak, I throw you out an airlock." Catherine's face split into a wide grin. Understood. They finished loading the ship together. Danny showed the young Vithori where everything was stored, how the systems worked, and what would be expected of him. The work was simple, but it felt good to have another set of hands dot as they prepared to launch. Danny looked out at the busy station one last time. Thousands of beings moved through the corridors, each one busy with their own lives, their own problems. Most of them did not notice him. Most of them did not care, but some of them were watching. Some of them remembered the story. And when they looked at humans now, they saw something different. Not prey, not soft creatures waiting to be eaten. They saw hunters. Danny sat in the pilot's chair and started the engines. The ship hummed to life around him. Catherine strapped himself into the co-pilot's seat, his eyes wide with excitement. "Where are we going?" The young alien asked. Danny smiled. "Wherever the work takes us. There is a lot of galaxy out there, and I plan to see as much of it as I can." The Long Hunt launched from the station and headed into the darkness of space. Behind them, the legend grew. The story of the lone human who had become the ultimate hunter. It was just the beginning. Humans had always been hunters. They had chased mammoths across frozen plains. They had tracked lions through burning savannas. They had followed their prey to the ends of the earth and beyond. Now the galaxy knew the truth, and they would never forget.